Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. It's an honor to be here. It's our first time in Detroit and her first time in Michigan. So we're really excited to explore a new city and meet all of you guys. And I'm Jacqueline, and this is,
I'm her sister, Alexa.
and we are the founders of Dateability, which is the only dating app designed specifically for disabled and chronically ill people.
Earlier today, we actually had a remark from somebody who has HS who said, "Oh, I've never considered myself disabled," which, brings up a really good point. Disability is very gray. It can be very subjective, which is part of why we started Dateability, to fight a stigma against something that's not super clear. But we also wanted to create a place that's inclusive regardless of disability or chronic illness. So if you don't consider yourself disabled, but you want to join Dateability, you want an inclusive space, by all means join. I also think that the experience with HS does overlap with at least what my sister has experienced as a disabled and chronically ill person in terms of intimacy, disclosure, how other people are going to react, educating others. And so, we were really happy to be here and talk about this, but we just wanted to kind of put it out there that even if you yourself don't consider yourself disabled, that's fine. I think Dateability is relevant to everyone, and I think inclusivity is really needed at a polarizing time like this.
So, as Alexa mentioned, I am a disabled woman. I have various disabilities, and while none of them are HS, I think that I can relate to everyone who has it, just as, we can all generally relate to each other just by having some sort of chronic medical condition, and one that is often comes with some sort of stigma. And so my dating experiences on the mainstream dating apps were less than ideal. I was told that it would be selfish to have biological children. I was told that I was too burdensome to date, that it was just too stressful, that they just didn't want to deal with it, and that there could be someone else who's just as great as I am and didn't have a disability that they could swipe on. And so it was really discouraging. And throughout this process of creating Dateability, we have learned that my story is not unique, and a lot of people have dealt with stuff like this. People are asking, can you have sex? How do I talk to you if you use a wheelchair? And just not treating disabled adults as adults and really infantilizing the community. And so what we wanted to do is create a place for the world's largest minority. And that's exactly what we did. I have a paralyzed stomach, and so I require a feeding tube to get my nutrition. And Alexa and I really created Dateability from my hospital room after that surgery. We kind of just came up with the idea of creating a space that I was looking for and to meet people that aligned with me. And we figured that one didn't exist, so we would create one ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's really important to be with someone who views the world in a similar way to you. And so when we first launched, we're not saying that disabled or chronically ill people can only date disabled and chronically ill people. We're not trying to silo the community, but I do think values and perspective do matter for, so much when you are trying to start a life with somebody. And so, I think that that's really important. And I saw with Jacqueline, just all of the rejection that she was experiencing on the apps really affect her self-worth to the point where if anyone liked her, she would like them back, right? Like she had no standards. No standards. And so she would, start dating these guys where I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you are so much better. And then even those guys would ultimately end up insulting you in some way, or saying like, oh, my mom doesn't want me to date you, or my friends can't believe I'm dating you because you have a chronic illness. And so, you settling for whoever would like you initially wasn't even working out. And so, we've had a lot of, we'll talk about this later, but success stories with Dateability. But I just saw the way it affected every aspect of Jacqueline's life. And it didn't, help her health either. I think mental health and what's happening, up here can really affect what's happening in the rest of your body. And I've just noticed that since you become, more fulfilled and you feel like you have a purpose and a drive and you have that self-worth, that your health has improved as well. So we launched officially October 2022, so it's been 2.5 years. We wanted to make Dateability seem like a modern app. We've all been on Hinge, Bumble, Tinder, and we wanted to recreate those functions. So if you've ever been on one of those apps, you'll know how to use Dateability. But we wanted to make it different, not just its mission, but the actual functionality of the app. So when we were thinking about this, the thing that I saw from Jacqueline was struggling with when to tell somebody and how to tell somebody. Does she put it in her profile? And when she would not get as many likes. Do I tell them on the first date? Rarely resulted in a second date. Do I tell them 2 months in? Same, the outcome was always the same. And so we created the Dateability Deets section. It's an extensive list of broad terms like immunocompromised, food allergy, wheelchair user, and it goes on the user's profile, and users can select what applies to them. There's a type in option, and it just shows your circumstances in a really neutral way. We didn't get into any diagnoses. We do leave them broad for privacy purposes, but people do often share their diagnoses in their profile, and that's obviously, it's a really nice thing to see that people do feel safe and comfortable on our app, but the Deets section isn't supposed to read like a medical chart. I think that, Jacqueline, you constantly feel like a patient sometimes because your disability affects your everyday life, and so we didn't want to recreate that on our app. We want it to be more fun, neutral, just kind of like religion or education or hometown. And so therein lies the Dateability Deets.
And since launching, we have over 40,000 people all across the United States, Canada, and the UK.
So we also take safety and accessibility really importantly. We really seriously, we heard about people who will fetishize disabilities and chronic illnesses, particularly physical disabilities and chronic illnesses. And we have been so fortunate to not really see that. Profiles do go through a pretty basic screening, and fortunately for us, the people who are devotees, and how many of you actually, let me back up, know what a devotee is? Okay, great, because we didn't either. A devotee is somebody, can you explain?
Yeah, a devotee is somebody who has a fetish for disability. Usually it is visible. It can be a limb difference or a wheelchair user, and they're attracted to the person purely because of that characteristic and not due to anything else. And there are different types of devotee relationships. There's consensual and non-consensual devotees. And we have decided, just for the safety and the well-being of our community, to not allow any devotee relationship on Dateability. And we have been very fortunate to not see any of that behavior, probably particularly because we put our face and our story out there, and we also closely monitor the app's activity.
Yeah, unfortunately for us, the devotees really like to make it known on their profile, so it's not hard to suss out when they join. But we have been fortunate that we don't really see that often. But we do have a profile verification, and that's just an enhanced layer. It basically means that you're not getting catfished. We, on the back end, have reviewed the photos with the profile photos and verified that the pictures match up and you are who you say you are. We don't use AI for this. This was really important because we had heard so many horror stories, like on Bumble. There was a girl who was a burn victim, and she had scars down half her body, and her profile pictures kept getting rejected by AI for being like offensive content. Or I know that people of color are largely discriminated against for the AI profile verification, and it doesn't always go through. And so we do everything manually ourselves. Nothing's automated. So the profile verification system is also, it's accessible that way. And we also spent, God, how many hours?
Lots of hours.
Lots of hours coming up with accessible poses for those with limb differences or mobility limitations to do the poses for the verification. And then there's always an alternative method to verifying as well. And that's what sets us apart from the other apps, is that we're always willing to find a way to make the app accessible. We have image descriptions. We are currently rewriting the app actually to enhance the screen reader capability, and that'll be out later this month. And then we also have a freemium model. So the last part of our accessibility is economic accessibility. We have a free version, which is fully functioning, and then we have a paid version that is $4.99 a month, and so less than a coffee in most places. And we just wanted to keep it accessible for everybody. The paid version has enhanced filtering, and you can have a more specified and particular experience on Dateability, but like I said, the free version is also fully functioning, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't put the key features behind a paywall, because that is what drove me nuts about the other apps.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than swiping and you're like, oh, next, on to the next, and then they tell you you're out of swipes for the day. So we really wanted to make sure that everyone who wants to find someone can, and another feature that also helps with accessibility is our optional location function, which is really great, and it's usually a paid feature on a lot of apps, but on ours, every user can use it, and you can either search for people within your area or across the app, and that has been great for starting long distance relationships, virtual companionship, really any type of connection, and just having someone to talk to.
And personally, I love that, because we live in Colorado. I know my person's not in Colorado, and I would love nothing more than to import like a hot British person as my husband. So the free location function is really conducive to my dreams.
Yeah. Since launching, we have had a lot of people find love and general connection, but we'll touch on some love stories. It has been really beautiful to see. I haven't found love yet, and we always get that question, but I think I have found my purpose, and that purpose is giving people the opportunity to find love and connection. And we are celebrating our first Dateability wedding in February. A beautiful couple is getting married, and we're just so thrilled for them. So many, thank you. And so many people have found love with such diverse disabilities. It has been really wonderful to see. There's really only one couple that we're aware of that has the same diagnosis, but other than that, everyone has completely different disabilities, and it just shows that all you need is that commonality and that common thread of community, and you can relate to the person having that same perspective. And so that has been really amazing to see. And as Alexa briefly mentioned, we have a very exciting new app coming at the end of the month, and it is going to be a complete redesign, a complete technical overhaul. Everything is going to be different, but same mission, just a better experience. And we're really excited to create new features and just grow our community exponentially so that each person has hundreds of options.
So we don't just want to talk at you. I don't know, we weren't at the intimacy session before, but did they have audience participation to those who went? They did. And I don't know if that was strictly intimacy. I wish we could have been there, but I would love to hear stories. I think
or stories, questions, anecdotes, really whatever you have. It can be dating related or not, and we would just love to speak and hear. Yeah. 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 Yeah,
That's
that's a
a good
good
question.
question.
Yeah.
And there have been attempts at that, but so our profile verification process, we have it that you can only use a camera, you can't upload a picture. And so the people who have tried to do that, you can tell that they're taking a picture of a screen because it has like little squiggles, and that it has been very rare, actually, that people have tried to trick the system in getting verified. But we monitor our users as they sign up, and so we're very on top of that. And actually, nothing in our app is AI generated, which is really helpful because I'm not sure AI is good at detecting AI. And so, but the humans can detect AI, and we're seeing that across all industries. And we're training people to detect AI and making sure that we're aware of the signs.
AI is the bane of my existence. Really. Any other questions or anecdotes? Really, like, our mission is to eliminate or reduce isolation. And so, like Jacqueline touched on, finding out that her experiences dating were not unique, I think it's bittersweet, but I think it made you feel way less alone than you did before. And we have met so many incredible people along this journey that really is our main goal, whether it be romantic or platonic. We just want to foster connection. And so we would love to hear from you all. If you have questions about, being entrepreneurs in the dating space app, since there are seemingly so many dating apps out there, we've run into a lot of obstacles, and it's been a learning curve that's been pretty steep. And we're excited that after 2.5 years, we finally get to release a more sophisticated version of the app because we just have been faced with a lot of obstacles. Like AI gets tons of institutional funding, right? They can get this fancy venture capital firm like that. And as female founders and as people who are encouraging disabled intimacy, we get a lot of pushback from investors. They just don't understand what we're trying to do, or they want us to pivot to a platonic friendship app. And that's great, friendships are great, but we set out to solve a very specific problem. And I think that their suggestions are rooted in discrimination because they don't believe that disabled people should, want to have sex, and so we're really trying to change that. So any questions regarding that as well, we're open.
It's been a long day. I
I know. We had to get coffee earlier. Do you want to talk about some of our favorite success stories?
Sure. One of our favorite success stories is a couple. They're both on the autism spectrum, and they're both in their first relationship. And the woman, they both live with their families, and the woman's mom was watching Love on the Spectrum and said, I don't want this for my daughter, and Googled to see if there was a dating app, and she found Dateability. And she found a very nice young man who happened to also live 20 minutes away from them. And they have been dating for just about 2 years now. They've been traveling Disney. They've been going to Disney. They've been just experiencing life together, which has been really beautiful. Their families said that this app gave them so much hope that their children could be independent and really just give them this sense of normalcy and adulthood that they didn't get before, and that they weren't exposed to, and that they weren't welcomed in these other spaces. And we're really excited to see that.
My favorite success story, it's a couple who are in their late 50s, early 60s, and the man was diagnosed with Parkinson's a few years ago. The woman was not disabled and then was in a bike accident and became physically disabled after that. And she spent 8 years in rehab and adjusting to her new normal. And then she decided she was ready to start dating. And she joined Dateability, went on some coffee dates, didn't feel a connection with anyone, but it let her get her groove back and just feel comfortable and learn how to date again. And then she matched with someone who lived in the bordering state from her. And like 3 weeks later into talking, she had to have this really intense back surgery, and he drove up to take care of her. They spent 3 weeks like straight together. And I don't know, Jacqueline looks really pretty after surgery for some reason, but I don't. Like, I look terrible. So I can only imagine like having someone see me at what I would consider my worst. And then like also just the recovery process can be so grueling. But they have been together, what, 1.5 years now? And they find that their, disabilities really accommodate each other. He, because he has Parkinson's, struggles with some like fine motor skills, and like cooking can be hard for him now. Cooking is good for him. Driving can be hard for him. She can drive, but cooking can be hard for her. And so they really do complement each other. And I just thought it was really sweet. And I always think not that, life it's never too late to find love. They're in their 50s and 60s. We get people in their 70s who have been disabled for decades, who have never been on a dating app, and Dateability is their first one, which is like the best feeling to know that they trust us with that. I can only imagine how intimidating a Hinge or a Bumble would be for somebody who was like 75 years old. But I think we have really good customer service, to walk people, our users through. But that's my favorite success story, and the wedding, of course.
Yeah, and while both of those success stories that we mentioned were heterosexual relationships, 48% of our users identify as queer. So we have a really diverse user base, and that has been really important in building Dateability, is making sure that that we recognize and accommodate the intersectionality between disability and other characteristics such as sexuality, race, religion, and gender identity. And so it's been a great place to foster that inclusivity and that diversity. And we're learning a lot every day, and we're really excited for this next journey, this next stage in our journey. And we're just very thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to you all. So thank you so much. Oh, we have a question.
We have time. So.
Yes.
So I have quick questions for two. First one is like, since starting this business, have you become like more bougie with your dating? Like your higher standards?
Yes. Well, now I would say I'm single by choice, which has been like actually transformative. I was like, my main goal in my 20s was to get a boyfriend or find a partner. And now that if my standards are higher, I'm a lot more content on my own. And I really just value, like I know what I value. And that's been life-changing for me. I will not settle. I see a lot of people settle, and I don't want to do that. And so, thank you. I'm just, I definitely have become more picky, which she will appreciate because she's always been really picky. And she always told me I needed to be pickier. So now I finally am.
Yeah, I should maybe be less bougie in dating, maybe, just a little.
My next question is, do you guys see for the demographics of like what type of disabilities there are, like invisible disabilities for pelvic pain? I work with women who have vaginismus, so they frequently ask me, I'm like, I don't know, about how to date with vaginismus when penetration can be either impossible or extremely painful. So I'm just wondering, is this app currently reaching that audience of like pelvic pain, sexual?
Yeah, yes. So the majority of our users have some sort of physical disability or chronic illness, and most likely just because that's how I identify, and so that's just like I can relate to that more. And we do have a lot of people with pelvic pain, and we do reach out. We do work with like the endometriosis community and the PCOS community, and so it's a pelvic pain is a really hard thing to deal with when dating, and I've dealt with it myself, and so it can be really intimidating and awkward to disclose. And so we would please suggest Dateability to those people that you talk to.
Yeah.
Do you consider neurodivergence as a disability? Because it'd be nice to like find people that understand that.
And I think I touched on this, like, I don't want to define disability for anybody, but we do have a large neurodivergent community on our platform. And one of our success stories, they are both neurodivergent. So yes, like, welcome. I really always say that Dateability is a place, like, if you feel like the other apps aren't working for you, or you just find them like toxic or like too superficial, come give Dateability a try. And I think like most people are on multiple dating apps too. Like, you're on like the Tinders, Bumbles. You can be on multiple. We don't like make you sign a non-compete or anything, but maybe we should. But yes,
Neurodivergent is the Dateability DEET.
Yes,
so,
that is true.
Yeah, and definitely see a lot of people selecting that.
Hi. I'm like, how do I word this? I love the app. I love the idea of it. I went to go download it myself, and I saw when you were picking for gender categories, there was just like this drop box that just said other, and that to me felt really othering. And
Okay.
I'm wondering if there's ways that maybe while you guys are like redesigning the app, like you can make that like a fill-in, or there could be like just more options around that, so that it can be just like a little bit more inclusive, especially if there's like a large LGBTQ population. Like, that's something that I immediately was like, oh.
You're in luck. If you wait, hopefully just 3 more weeks, you will have that option, and you'll be able to type in whatever you desire.
Yeah, when we started the app, like I said, we were working with very limited resources, and we also were working with like only what we knew. And we're both cisgender white women, and so we were like, our eyes were open to the perspective of other people, and we didn't realize that there was a large kink community in the disability community, and we really wanted to cater to that. When we said we want to be inclusive, we meant it, but that also means making changes. And then we found ourselves tweaking the app so much that our engineers were like, okay, if we're gonna do it this much, like, we're tweaking what someone else built, we should probably rewrite it. We can fix the technology, make it more sophisticated, and then like all of your changes add in. Because like every week we were like, wait, we need to add, something else, and we need to do something else. And so that is all coming. We have like so many changes, which I think probably frustrates some of our users because the app has not changed in months. But we're like, no, we're just saving everything, and we're gonna do like one big batch release. But yes, that is something that we considered, and we appreciate all feedback. It doesn't take, we are not easily offended. Like, we
No.
don't know what we don't know, and we want to know everything.
And all of the feedback straight to us and from our mouths to
The engineers'
production.
ears. Yeah, to the engineers' ears. And yeah, so thank you for that. Yes, we are very aware, and we apologize that you felt that way. But yeah, hopefully 3 weeks, it's kind of like building a house where they're like, oh no, wait, something else went wrong, but it is well on its way. We've
Yeah.
been testing it pretty diligently for the past couple weeks.